And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat because it doesn't curve, the water always finds its level.
What'd your teacher do?
She just didn't talk to me anymore. All she did was walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it.
Up for sound bites. This is awesome.
Welcome back to Anti-Religious Scripture Study with me, Karen B, and of course, Just Jack Flat Earth. Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
yo.
Shalom. Got my hat back. Thanks
Yay.
to Alex Critical Inception bought me a birthday gift, and it's very similar to the hat that I used to have. That's part of my logo. So, and my trademark on the Logan Paul spoof.
Yep.
All right, so we were in chapter 6 and we're jumping over to chapter 9 this week because chapter 7 and 8 pertains to the Levites specifically and the dedication of the temple, and we're going to overview that. But then we'll get into chapter 9, and I'll get my disclaimer out of the way. Just Jack's disclaimer. If you believe it, to the religious, if you believe it's wrong to study the scripture outside of your religion or denomination, if you believe your religious leaders or church fathers are incapable of having inherited anti-scriptural traditions of men, if you've already made up your mind about scripture, including the scriptures shouldn't be studied at all, then the stream is not for you. To others, if you are open-minded to others' opinions, if you haven't made up your mind about scripture, if you've been turned off to religion, believe there's truth in scripture that may have been changed or hidden by religion, if you live according to scripture and like to dig in and discover more, then the stream is for you. We are looking at scripture in the original language using concordances or dictionaries for root words, as well as context from a non-religion perspective. We will as well have life experience discussion. We are not here to argue with others about theology or doctrine by the traditions of men, including Catholicism, Christianity, or Judaism. We will be discussing the importance of origins and show how religions contradict scriptures. There we go.
All right.
And so last week we were talking about the Nazirite vow, and I also reiterated that a Nazirite vow is not the same as a Nazarene or one from Nazareth, right? So that's Netzeret, where this is Nezrene. So there's a difference in Hebrew that's very clear, but it's not clear when they anglicize it. So Nazir is the dedication, and Netzer is the offshoot from a old root, which is where Nazareth got its name. All right, so we can get into 7 a little bit here. This is offerings at the tabernacle's consecration. That's not a bad heading for this, but it is 89 verses long, and we will not be going through this. It is a very repetitious, very methodical breakdown of all the offerings that were brought for each tribe to dedicate the tabernacle. So I'm just going to read this real quick. It came to be when Moshe finished setting up the dwelling place that he anointed it and set it apart for all its furnishings, as well as the altar and all its utensils. Thus he anointed them and set them apart. And the leaders of Israel, the heads of the fathers' houses, who were the leaders of the tribes, and over the ones registered, drew near. And they brought their offering before Jehovah, 6 covered wagons and 12 cattle, a wagon for every 2 of the leaders, for each one a bull, and they brought them before the dwelling place. And then it goes on, for each tribe bring in more and more and more and more offerings.
It's like
All right.
it's like documenting it for
Yeah.
whatever reason, right?
Yeah, it's definitely just a record of, okay, this tribe brought this tribe brought that, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll go to the last verse here at the end of all the bringings. And well, I guess we could, yeah. And all the cattle for the slaughtering of peace, the offering of shalom. Offerings were 24 bulls, rams 60, male goats 60, lambs a year old 60. This was the dedication of the slaughter place after it was anointed. So they dedicated not just for the tabernacle, but for the altar as well. So they're bringing different offerings for dedications of specific pieces within the tabernacle. Moshe went into the tent of appointment to speak with him, and this is the tent of the Moed, the appointment right here, as in the Moedim, the appointed times of the year, right? Appointment. And he heard the voice of the one speaking to him from above the lid of atonement. And again, this is just lid, but they break it down to lid of atonement because it's the word cover
Mm-hmm.
So cover and atonement mean the same thing. So it's like the cover of cover.
Mm-hmm.
That was on the Ark of the Witness, Ark being a container,
Mm-hmm.
witness being the proof of the contract from before the two cherubim, which were the molded angels, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Thus he spoke to him. All right.
That's
Then
kind
we'll
of a
jump over
trip.
to
That
yep,
description there of them. That's like a description of Moshe speaking to the Creator
yep,
through
directly.
through the ark,
That's
right?
right. Yep. And that's where Yah said, like, if you build this tabernacle, that's where I'm going to be.
Right.
Like, whenever you want to, contact me, that's where I'm at.
It's
All right.
almost like the tabernacle is like a radio station.
Right.
That's
Right.
crazy.
Like an antenna.
Yeah, and you build it to
Yeah.
pick up the signal and get the
Yeah.
messages from the Creator. That's just a
Exactly.
trip to me. All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. And
continue.
we talked about that. Like,
Yeah.
it's very, very conductive materials that it's made out of, and it's very interesting stuff
Mm-hmm.
for sure. And then chapter 8, the 7 lamps. Speak to Aaron and say to him, when you send to trim the lamps, let the 7 lamps give light in front of the lampstand. And Aaron did so. He set up the lamps face toward the front of the lampstand as Jehovah commanded Moshe. And this is the work of the lampstand, beaten work of gold, from its base to its blossoms, its beaten work, according to the pattern which Jehovah had showed Moshe. He made the lampstand, which we talked about way back in Exodus.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take my hat off because the back of it's hitting the wall. So, and Jehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, take the Levites from among the children of Israel, you shall cleanse them, and you shall do this to cleanse them. Sprinkle water of the separation,
11,
right?
11.
11:11. Woot, woot. Sprinkle the water of the distance, the separation, and they shall shave all of their body, and they shall wash their garments and cleanse themselves. So their initiation to begin the servitude in the temple is like they shave their body top to bottom. And this is not Nazarite vow. This is just to begin the priesthood. So when you turn 25, you basically, you start fresh, like fresh hair, fresh beard, all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it funny when when they show pictures of the priesthood, like when they join up, this is what they wear, and they show like the whole garment and everything pictorially, but they show them with long hair and long beard. Well, not when they first get started. They have to start fresh and grow it all out. So you shall take a young bull with its grain offering, fine flour mixed with oil, while you take another young bull as a separation offering, not sin offering, distance. And you shall bring the Levites before the tent of the appointment. You shall assemble the congregation of the children of Israel, and you shall bring the Levites before Jehovah. And the children of Israel shall lay their hands on the Levites. And Aaron shall wave the Levites before Jehovah, a wave offering from the children of Israel. So shall they be for doing the service of Jehovah, etc., etc., etc. So then there's the sacrifices. Thus you shall separate the Levites from among the children of Israel. The Levites shall be mine, and the wave offering, and they're mine. So this is all about the dedication of the Levites. And Jehovah spoke to Moshe, this applies to the Levites from 25 years old and above. Let him come into me in active service, in the service of the tent of the appointment. At the age of 50 years, they retire from active service, and they shall serve no more. But they shall attend with her brothers in the appointment to guard the duty, but shall do no service. Thus you shall do the Levites regarding their duties. So they're constantly within the tabernacle, as far as the activity of while people are coming in and stuff, but they don't do the physical service. The physical service is where they prepare the sacrifices and do the cleaning, and it's a lot of work to be a priest. But when they're just attending in the duty, that just means that they basically hang out in the the tabernacle, and we're talking about the outer courts, because there's the outer courts, and then there's the inner courts, and then there's the holies, and then there's the Holy of Holies. So,
Okay.
all right, you can. This
All
part,
right.
I decided this is where I should stop as far as like not skimming over, because this part does pertain to everybody, not just the priesthood. So we can go ahead and read into this.
So chapter 9.
Chapter 9. Oh, let me throw the parallels up there real quick. All right, go ahead.
All right. And Jehovah spoke to Moshe in the wilderness of Sinai in the first new moon of the second year after they had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, saying,
Okay, so they've been in the wilderness for 1 year.
mm-hmm,
So this is the first new moon of the second year. So they've been in the wilderness for an entire year after they left
Egypt.
Mitzrayim. Yeah, Egypt. So I have this conversation with some people that say that in order to begin the months, in order to observe the Chodesh, that you need to do it from Israel, because that's the land that Yah chose, blah, 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 blah. Now, they're a year out of Mitzrayim, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not into the promised land yet. So them acknowledging the calendar is in the wilderness, not in Egypt and not in the promised land. They're in the wilderness, but yet they're still acknowledging the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So I make that a point because some people like are religiously thinking that they have to look to Israel for the proof that it's spring, the proof that the moon's in the sky, the proof that, like things that you can observe for yourself is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
All right, verse 2.
All right. Now let the children of Israel perform the Pesach at its appointed time.
Yeah, Pesach,
Pesach.
aka Passover.
On the 14th day of this new moon between the evenings, perform it at its appointed time. According to all its laws and right rulings, you perform it.
All right.
And Moshe...
Which the information they got from Egypt a year prior.
Okay. And Moshe spoke to the children of Israel to perform the Pesach. So they performed the Pesach on the 14th day of the first new moon between the evenings in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that Jehovah commanded Moshe, so the children of Israel did.
Okay. So they got the information when they were leaving Israel that in the first new moon, the new moon of the Aviv, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the barley harvest being harvestable and roastable, which is the springtime.
Mm-hmm.
At the first new moon, you count 14 days, and then there's the Pesach, and then you perform the Pesach between the evenings.
And that's isn't that the full moon or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Pesach is at the full moon. Yes.
Yeah.
Both of the weekly Moedim are during a full moon, which is awesome because you're like partying for a week and you can stay up a little later because the light, of the moon is there.
Yeah,
right?
You can see.
Yeah, you can see. So between the evenings is when they would have to prepare the lamb between the evenings. So when we talked about this all the way back in Genesis chapter 1, my assumption is that evening is in its root word, the mingling with darkness, right? So between the evenings would be between dawn and dusk on the 14th day, which makes sense because you're not going to be trying to prepare a lamb in the middle of the night.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But and this is at new moon, so there's not much light at nighttime no, this is during the full moon. My bad. So I guess they could go past sunset, but it says between the evenings, and I assume that to be what we would, instead of translating it evenings, I would translate it as twilight, right? The dawn and dusk times.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Verse 6 or chapter, verse 6.
But there were men who were defiled for being of a man, so that they were not able to perform the Pesach on that day, they came before Moshe and Aharon on that day.
Okay, so being defiled because of a man means like if somebody died in your arms, or, somebody died close to you where you'd have to, bury them. So you're defiled because of that man, so you can't approach the tabernacle with your lamb. So they're like, we can't perform the Passover because we've been defiled because of a man.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. And those men said to him, We are defiled for the being of a man. Why are we withheld from bringing near the offering of Jehovah at its appointed time among the children of Israel?
All right. So
And
that's their
Moshe
conflict.
and Moshe said to them, Wait, let me hear what Jehovah commands concerning you.
And those of you who have watched my videos about the Moedim, you already know the answer because I've addressed this verse. But
Mm-hmm. And Jehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, When any male of you or your generations is unclean for a being, or is far away on a journey, he shall still perform the Pesach of Jehovah.
all right, so if you're like, let's say you're in another country and you cannot go back to the appointed place at the appointed time, which that changes later when the temple is moved and the tabernacle is left behind, and then when the tabernacle is destroyed, then you practice wherever you're at. But in this specific instance where they're in the wilderness, so like let's say they were out, scouting the new land, for instance, they couldn't be there in time, and so Yah makes a way if you can't be there on time. So verse 11.
On the 14th day of the second new moon, between the evenings, they perform it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, they eat it.
So you miss it in the first day on the 14th day, or first month, excuse me. You miss it in the first Chodesh on the 14th day, so then you pick it up on the second. So the second month, 14th day, you do it as if it was the first month.
Okay. They do not leave of it until morning, and they do not break a bone of it. According to all the laws of the Pesach, they perform it.
Yeah, that's Pesach.
Pesach, yeah.
Yeah.
But the man who is clean and is not on a journey and has failed to perform the Pesach, that same being shall be cut off from among his people, because he did not bring the offering of Jehovah at its appointed time. That man bears his sin.
Okay, and this is sin. Let's see here. Yeah. He's separated, right? So this is you're cut off, you're no longer part of the group, right? If you're not performing Pesach, if you say, like, I belong to Israel, I worship Jehovah, etc., etc., and you don't perform the Pesach because you just don't feel like it, you're cut off, you're out.
And when a stranger sojourns among you, then he shall perform the Pesach and of Jehovah, and shall do so according to the law of the Pesach, and according to its right ruling. You have one law, both for the stranger and the native of the land.
Okay, so you're not exempt if you're not native born, right? We've discussed this many times that there's not a special people. There's not like, oh, well, you're not part of the group, so you can't join with us, or you're not of the right lineage, or whatever the case may be. You can't prove with your DNA that you're related to Abraham, so you're not included. That's not what this says at all. It doesn't matter if you join yourself to Yah, whether you're native born or you're a sojourner, someone who comes in. You are to participate in the Pesach.
Mm-hmm. Right. And on the day that the dwelling place was raised up, the cloud covered the dwelling place, the tent of the witness, from evening until morning. It was above the dwelling place, like the appearance of fire.
All right.
Thus it was.
So, yeah, day and night, by day a cloud, by night a fire. Just like when they first went into the wilderness, and the cloud led them by day, and the pillar of fire by night.
Mm-hmm.
now it would stay on the tabernacle. And then when the cloud would go up, they would go with it. So it's like, all right, time to pack up. The cloud's moving or the fire's moving. And something that in some circles may recognize as Shekinah. There's this thing in some circles of some sects of religion that they pay attention to the Shekinah glory, which just means the dwelling heaviness of the Creator. So this is from Mishkan, from Shekinah, from the dwelling. So whenever people of those circles heard things like Shekinah glory, it just means the dwelling heaviness of Yah.
Mm-hmm. Thus it was continually, the cloud covered it by day, and the appearance of fire by night.
Okay.
And whenever the cloud was taken up from above the tent, after that the children of Israel would depart, and in the place where the cloud dwelt, there the children of Israel would camp.
All right. So, like I said, if it stayed put, they stayed put. If it left, they left.
Mm-hmm. At the mouth of Yehovah the children of Israel departed, and at the command of Yehovah they camped. They remained camped as long as the cloud dwelt above the dwelling place. Even when the cloud lingered many days above the dwelling place, the children of Israel guarded the charge of Yehovah and did not depart.
All right, so guarded the charge is shomer, which is translated as keep, kept right here in King James Version. And then here, the charge, where's charge? Okay, so if you look at charge, it's, hold on. It's mishmeret. Okay, so if you look at the three center letters, that's shomer, guard and protect again. So it's protecting from, where's that? From protection of Yehovah. Protecting from the protection of Yehovah. So even though it says kept the charge, it's protect the protection, if you will.
And so it was, when the cloud dwelt only from evening until morning. When the cloud was taken up in the morning, then they departed, whether by day.
Wait.
What? Did I skip 20? I skipped 20?
Yes, I think you skipped 20, yes.
Okay, and so it was, when the cloud was above the dwelling place a few days, according to the mouth of Yehovah they camped, and according to the mouth of Yehovah they would depart.
Now it's similar to a couple verses back, but
yeah. It looks like the same thing. And so it was, when the cloud dwelt only from evening until morning. Then the cloud was taken up in the morning, and then they departed, whether by day or by night. Wherever the cloud was taken up, they departed.
So even like in let's say a 24-hour period, like put up the tent. Oh, the cloud's moving. We got to go. Take down the tent.
Yeah, that would be a pain in the butt.
Oh, yeah.
Whether 2 days or a new moon or a year that the cloud lingered above the dwelling place to dwell upon it, the children of Israel camped and did not depart. But when it was taken up, they departed.
All right. So like in this whether by 2 days or a new moon, right? New moon being a monthly cycle, right? Not necessarily like, oh, it always moved on a new moon. It's speaking of that cycle of the renewing, right? That's what it's called, renew. And then year is the repeat pattern, which I made a mistake and just translated it as, because they're similar, yomim, so the days. So it doesn't matter if it's the group of days or the group of the renews or the group or only 2 days long. If it's time to move, it's time to move.
Okay. At the mouth of Yehovah they camped, and at the mouth of Yehovah they departed. They guarded the charge of Yehovah at the mouth of Yehovah by the hand of Moshe.
All right. There we go. So we barely covered 7, kind of covered 8. and definitely covered 9. But yeah, so this shows you that, number one, you don't have to be in a specific place to observe the cycles, right? This is in the wilderness.
Right.
And it also is about being prepared to listen to the word, the mouth of Yah, and be able to move when he tells you to move. So I think this goes back also to Exodus chapter 19, verse 5. And now if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard, shomer, protect, my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. So it's about being sensitive to when Yah tells you to do something. You can, like, whether it be a gut feeling or a pull, like you feel a pull to do something, acknowledge that and do it, because there's, the Creator knows what's what. He knows when you should move. And if you walk in that pattern, then everything works the way it's supposed to, the way it was designed. Oops, sorry, I dropped my camera. All right. I'll jump over to chat now. And let's see here. All right. Shout out to Nathan Reed, Phil Up, Lord Racer, Gregory May, Joy Nugent, Aisling 717, Cammy, Brian Stavely, Jess Caroline, my wife, Deru for you, National Memorial Gardens, Joseph Osborne. I think I might have already said him already, but nope, it was okay. Shout out to Joseph Osborne. And let's see. Effie Nation, what's up? Rasta Bear, ain't seen you in a minute. Good to see you, man. Let's see. Captain Construction and Effed Up World. Good to see y'all. Thanks for coming in here. See if there's any questions. Spot on, Karen. I don't know what that was about, but she says spot on.
I think it was about the radio station thing.
Ah, okay.
The portable radio station.
All right. Yep, portable radio station. Yep. The moon last night was spectacular. Yeah, it's been amazing. It gets really weird in the fall time. They get really huge and really changing colors, and it's very interesting.
Doesn't look like
Yah's calendar is amazing and never changes. Yeah. Oh, Critical Inception Alex just popped in and said, Shabbat Shalom, y'all. All right.
Yeah.
So we covered that. I'm not even going to guarantee that we're going to get into. I don't know exactly where we're going to go, because I'm going to read through them and then see whether or not we're going to get into it. Actually, this one's going to be pretty good. Yep, we'll do chapter 10 next week for sure. Yep. So that'll be good. We'll be back in order again. But for those of you who would like to take the time to read this chapter, I do recommend it. If you're methodical and mechanical like myself, it's interesting to me, because it's like, man, they took some great effort to get all the details in,
Mm-hmm.
And then the cleansing of the Levites don't really pertain to us, but if you want to do some more study on that, I recommend you do that as well. So we need to cover the fall moeds. Okay, so first of all, you spelled modes and then you spelled moeds when it's actually moedim.
It was spell thing where it did that right as I typed it. I saw it do it.
Oh, it's a correction.
Yeah.
But it's not moeds anyways, it's moedim. So there. Anyways, I can talk like that because she's my wife. Anyway,
Potato.
so I actually kind of threw in the beginning of my chat, like the 3 Shabbats in a day, 3 Shabbats in a Yom is Teruah, which is trumpets, the shouting. That's the first day of the 7th month. And then 9 days later, on the 10th day, is atonements, which is inspection, reflection, fasting, praying, all that jazz. And then 4 days after that is Sukkot, which is thickets, aka tents, and it's a party week. And then there's the 8th Yom, which is the closing festival. Then 2 weeks later is Flattoberfest. So all those Moedim coming up. So yes, we will address that probably in, let's see. Oh, probably next week. Yeah, we'll probably talk about it next week. Maybe the week after, but it depends, like how much time this takes, and then
Yeah.
the next one. So my wife is concerned that people may not may need those dates to request off of work. So just to give you, this is my perspective. Okay, not everybody's going to be in agreements, but this is my perspective as far as the dates are concerned. So Yom Teruah will be on Sunday, September 17th. Yom HaKippurim will be Monday evening on the 25th of September to the evening of the 26th of September. And then Sukkot will be Sunday, October 1st through the 7th, and then the 8th day being October 8th, which is ironic that it's falling, those 8 days are the 15th through the 22nd, are the 1st through the 8th of October. Pretty interesting. And then Flattoberfest is the 21st through the 23rd. However, we will be there on the 19th and leaving on the 24th, I think it is. As far as Alex and I are concerned. So, but yeah, there's the wrap up of it. Shout out to Tifster, and I think I know who that is. And shout out to Bill Wheel. I remembered this time. I pronounced it correctly. So Shabbat Shalom, and we'll see you next Shalom. Next Shabbat. Next Shalom. We'll see you next Shabbat.
All right.
And the earth is definitely still flat.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. And so thanks everybody for joining us for another episode of Anti-Religious Scripture Study. And we will see you again next Saturday. Have a restful day. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.